Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. My microphone here. Let me help my microphone be part of the party. No, it's this way. Okay.
Yeah, we got it in there.
No. There. A little better. All right. So, hello, everybody. You see the flag in behind me there? That flag in behind me is a Canadian flag representation. Actually, it looks like the crest on, remember that? Oh my goodness, the golden goal. That's the
right, the 2010 Olympics.
The Vancouver Olympics. Crosby's golden goal. I think that's the crest that they wore, and that's the theme of this show. It's about the great moments by Canadians, of Canadians, and of course of the cities in Canada, the leagues in Canada, and also the teams in other leagues that expand beyond Canada. So I think it's fair to say, if not all year, this is a big moment for Canadians in sport. And the big moment is, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays playing in the playoffs. They passed the Yankees into first place only because they manhandled them a few months ago. Because if they hadn't have manhandled them, there might have been another tiebreaker that might not have gone their way. So the Jays finished first in the American League East. Now they sit back and they wait to see what happens everywhere else. And all the rest of the wild cards are going on now. And you want to talk about the Dodgers and Reds first?
Yeah. So this was an exciting start. Shohei Ohtani and Blake Snell both had 2 home runs apiece. That helped LA in the end to a 10-5 final. What was slightly more concerning for the Dodgers, I think, though, is the fact that in the top of the 8th inning, their pitching staff threw 59 pitches, which is a bit of a concern. Dreyer walked in a run. That was the 3rd run of the frame for them that allowed Cincinnati to send the tying run to the on-deck circle. At the end of the day, though, catcher Tyler Stevenson chased a bunch of pitches outside of the strike zone before striking out on a 3-2 slider. Then the Reds put up Brian Hayes, and then Dreyer actually managed to induce a pop-up to end the inning. But that 59 pitch inning is something I think that's going to stick with them for a long time. That's not the kind of inning that you need to have, especially when it comes to wild card or playoff baseball. So
no, not at all. And then of course we had the Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah, that was an absolutely dynamite pitching performance by Crochet. All he said that he wanted to do was play Clash Royale on his phone. So, at the end of it, he sat down and just started playing. It was a 117-pitch gem in Game 1 of the wild card. 3-1 Red Sox win that put Boston just 1 win away from sending the Yankees home and moving on to the divisional series. It's one of those pitching performances where you can't help but be in awe of the guy. His 11th strikeout was one on a 100-mile-an-hour pitch. Yep. And it was his 117th pitch of the evening. It's one of those, you got to kind of marvel at the dude's longevity and his ability to go 7 2/3 innings.
He had, I think the most pitches he threw up until then were 99, I think, in the regular season.
Yep.
And so it was incumbent and important to him to get the first win, which the ace of the staff needs to do. And what you had here is you had what the assumption is the Yankees put their ace out there up against the Red Sox ace, and the Red Sox ace did a little bit better, enough better to win. And this was the reason why a lot of people, some of the experts, Aaron, were more concerned if the Jays would have had to have played Boston than they would have been playing the Yanks, just because of the pitching, the high-end pitcher that they have. Because in a 2-game series, the better number one pitcher creates, you only have to win one more game, right? So it was quite an interesting series of innings to watch. It was amazing. It was fun to watch, and those guys sure can pitch. So the Red Sox win 3-1. The Tigers win 2-1 over Cleveland. The Padres lose to Chicago 3-1, and the Dodgers win 10-5. Shohei Ohtani, I think he had a home run in his first two at bats. So, he's back to where he is. Let's go over to the NBA. And by the way, there was a Canadian pitcher there for the Cubs. He lost, unfortunately, but he's obviously an important pitcher to the Cubs.
Oh, for sure.
We've got the Lakers, and we're talking now what, James?
Yeah. Technically speaking, it's called nerve irritation in the glute. I prefer to call it a pain in the butt. He's going to have a slow ramp up to the regular season. Apparently, there's nerve irritation there. It doesn't sound like a significant concern, but for a 40-year-old NBA veteran, it's one of those things where he's got to sort of ease himself into it. He was held out of practice on Tuesday. Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, and Ado Tiero were also out with injuries. So it's 23 years worth of wear and tear on James's body. He played in 70 of the Lakers' 82 games last season. It was his second highest game tally since playing a full 82-game season for the Cavs during the 2018-19 season. So, wear and tear on the body is one thing, but it doesn't look like he's planning on slowing down. They are considered favorites for another long run, especially with the Luka Doncic in camp, which could also be potentially his last NBA season. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, good basketball player and a beast, a truly giant beast. With the Raptors, Scotty Barnes has to be the Raptor beast, but they traded for a guy in Brandon Ingram that they would like to see what it's like with both of them playing. Fair?
Yeah, he had a fantastic rookie season. Obviously, his sophomore season wasn't as good. He kind of returned to form in his third year, but he only played 60 games. But he was, while he was good defensively, he wasn't necessarily what they needed on the front end. But with Ingram coming in, based on his appearance at the press conference on Monday, they're expecting those two to work together really well. Ingram should also be able to help out RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly a lot too. He's basically the purest scorer of the group. But because he's going to draw attention, Barnes should probably benefit a little bit more from his presence. So we'll have to see how that works out. Camp is going to be exciting, and like I said, we'll see how the first 10 games of the season go before we really judge.
Let's talk about the Canadian Football League, and we start with the Elks beating the Rough Riders and sticking another nail in the Argos coffin.
Yeah, they came out of it with a 27-25 win at Commonwealth. Fajardo threw for 305 yards, 18 of 23 attempts he completed. Justin Rankin led the ground game with 82 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Keon Julian Grant led the Elks with 89 yards. Trevor Harris on the other side of the ball had 351 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions in the loss. AJ Wallette led all backs with 115 yards and a touchdown, and Keyshawn Johnson led all roughies with 119 yards receiving. This is one of those sort of kind of the result you expected, I think. Both teams have been having issues, but Edmonton has really been the surprise, especially in winning that game. Saskatchewan's 10-4 on the season, but Edmonton's 6-9. So that is really another nail in the coffin.
Zach Caleros, back to form. He's either been injured or not up to form, and this one he was up to form.
I tell you, 367 yards and a 40-3 win. He completed 20 of 25 passes, threw for a touchdown to Nick Dembski. Dylan Mitchell added 67 yards, and Ontario Wilson tallied 97. That's his most since rejoining the team in Week 14. Chris Streveler scored 3 rushing touchdowns, while Brady Oliveira took 15 carries for 98 yards to help the Bombers improve to 8-7. Really glad that he's back. Really glad that he's not as badly injured as people might have feared him to be. But that was definitely a convincing win over the Ticats. Now that they've got to dust themselves off because they're coming into Toronto this Saturday for a 7:30 game. But the Bombers are going to have another week off before traveling to Edmonton to play the Elks on October 11th in Week 19.
Let's talk about Patterson's hat trick. He leads the Alouettes.
Yeah. He played a crucial role in the red zone. Montreal finally pulled it out and won a big one, 38-20. Davis Alexander threw for 350 yards and a touchdown. Patterson ran in 3 with an additional 20 yards receiving. Tyler Sneed led the receiving corps with 115 yards on 8 receptions. On the flip side, Vernon Adams Jr. had 238 yards, a TD and an INT. Dedrick Mills had 81 yards on 10 carries, and Dominique Rhymes led Calgary through the air with 83 yards on 5. Montreal got their first points of the game off of a rouge. That's going to be going away next year. But they found it again after Jose Maltos kicked an attempt through the uprights from 44 yards away. So this had been dubbed the Philpott Bowl because the two brothers were facing off against each other. It was only for the second time in their CFL careers. Jalen Philpott got the first strike as he caught a 14-yard pass from Vernon Adams Jr. for the score. So all in all, a very entertaining game.
Absolutely. And then the Lions took down the Argonauts, and all hope for the playoffs. They can't make a mistake, and the other teams they're chasing can't do anything right. So they're not mathematically eliminated, but with any kind of logic will dictate that they won't be making the playoffs this year.
I was going to say, is 8-10 good enough to make it?
Well, not when you consider every team that they're competing with has an 8.
Yeah,
already.
That's very true.
So,
Calgary's 8-6. Winnipeg and BC are 8-7.
Yep.
Ugh.
And I think BC holds the tiebreaker.
Right.
I think, Montreal has a tiebreaker because Montreal's at 8 as well, if I remember correctly. Sorry, I'm not looking at the standings. I'm just going by recollection. The point being that because of the poor start they've had to the season, they've given up a lot of tiebreakers, like one to Hamilton, one to Montreal, and then to BC. And I'm not sure about Calgary. I'm not sure. I think they won against Calgary and they lost against Calgary. So I guess the total points there, I don't remember. I think the Argos won a close one. I think Calgary won one that was a little easier. And so the point differential will be on the side of Calgary. But the point is, I seriously doubt that all 3 of those teams that the Argos are competing against are going to lose every game till the end of the season. So all 3 of their games. And unfortunately, the Argos have to start by winning all their games. And it doesn't look good. Is it a happy moment for those of us that follow the Argos? As a reporter, it makes me unhappy because the relevance of the games, part of the reporting is reporting on what interests people. And unfortunately, what naturally happens is when you end up with a team that's out of the playoffs, even their fans, they'll hope for the best. They don't like Hamilton, so they'll show up for that game against Hamilton. And the spoiler role, the beating a longtime rival, those are still live and kicking. Those are still happening. So the game will be of much interest. It just won't be one that talks to the playoffs, but they'll delay their elimination if they can beat Hamilton. And it's going to be a really good game because this is now one of those situations where players are going to be playing for the jobs.
And it's tough to win a game when you only get 1 touchdown and you have to rely on your kicker's leg for the other 5 field goals. There's the 15 points there. I had a lot of higher hopes going into this season, specifically with Arbuckle and his performance last year in the Grey Cup. I was definitely hoping for better. I think there were issues with the handling of Kelly's injury. I don't know if he would have necessarily been ready to be back early, but it's one of those situations where they didn't do anything with regards to shoring up their quarterbacking, which I think led to that. Not to mention losing some key defensive players in free agency this summer. So that didn't help either.
For me, it comes down to simply one thing. One thing that ruined their season. It comes down to one thing.
What was that, Frank?
Well, it was we know it wasn't the quarterback, actually, by virtue of how he played. I know going in, what you said is very true, but they did pay him a lot of money to be on the team.
Fair.
Big thing that the Argos didn't do is they didn't come into the season with a running game. And that was the end of them. That was it. They couldn't generate a running game. That meant that 3rd and 1. That meant that have the defenses guessing as to whether they're passing or running were taken off the table. Losses, and because they didn't have a running game, the quarterback was always on the run. So that was the only running that was being done. The quarterback away from the defenses. Because they knew they could go after the quarterback, and they could do it with just 4 guys too. So the Argos made some mistakes. I'm sure in hindsight there are things that they know they did wrong. Are they things that they should have known better or didn't work out for them? Is irrelevant. The point is the team is now playing games. They're playing a game on Saturday, which matters. But they're on the slimmest, as we've described, slimmest edge of being able to say their games matter that they're playing. They can matter to them as individuals, moral victories, but we know in football how much moral victories count.
Yeah, it doesn't put bread on the table.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. Let's go over to tennis and let's talk about golf.
So Coco Gauff actually had to go the distance with Canadian Leylah Fernandez on Sunday. She managed to close out a tight 3-setter, 6-4, 4-6, 7-5 on Sunday to advance to the 3rd round at the China Open. She overcome a relatively significant second set stumble and then struggled to serve out the match in the 3rd before breaking Fernandez in the 12th game of the deciding set to clinch it. Gauff is now actually through to the semifinal. She'll be playing later tonight / early tomorrow morning. And it's going to be interesting to see if she can carry it all the way through. Flip side of that, Eva Lees beat Elena Rybakina 6-3, 1-6, 6-4, and McCartney Kessler was leading Barbara Krejcikova 1-6, 7-5, 3-0 when Barbara had to retire from the match. So that's currently being played at the same time as the men's ATP 500 tournament. Alexander Zverev rallied from a breakdown in the deciding set to beat Corentin Moutet 7-5, 3-6, 6-3 to set up a quarterfinal match against Danny Medvedev, who got past Alejandro Davidovich Fokina 6-3, 6-3. So it's shaping up to be an interesting tournament. Unfortunately, Canada didn't get as far as we had hoped that they would in this one, but there's always next week.
Absolutely. And now we'll go on to golf and the Ryder Cup and everything that happened there, Aaron, in Long Island. I know this isn't a true political statement, but America has turned such a social battleground. It's become such a social battleground in so many ways. It doesn't matter what way. There's always this battle. It's part of America now, where the hate and the classless, I'll call it classless behavior. It has spawned classless behavior, people calling people names because of how they voted, all that stuff, right? And it doesn't matter either side. But the point is, that's what America has degenerated into. And unfortunately, the Ryder Cup proved that it has even seeped into golf, a reserved. I mean, is there a game that's more reserved and requires silence more than golf?
Other than potentially tennis, when it comes to serving, I can't think of any other sport that requires or needs silence the way that golf does.
Or expects it. It's the norm.
It's the yelling during somebody's backswing. It was one of the players' wives allegedly had an empty can of beer thrown at her. There were homophobic slurs that were thrown around. There was also a racist taunt that went up. You know, none of it ever should have happened. It's and I blame Adam Sandler for this. If it wasn't for the popularity of Happy Gilmore, none of this crap would have happened.
Well, I think this was his next movie, Unhappy Gilmore.
Yeah, it was not. It was difficult to watch, difficult to listen to.
It's terrible what America's turned into. It's a battleground. It's a classless. The country isn't classless. Everybody isn't classless, but the classless people have, for some reason, feel, I don't know, they feel buoyed in that kind of behavior, which is sad. It's truly sad. And it goes for all the sides. It's just, people just think that disrespect is cool. And you know what? It ain't to me. Let's go over to hockey and let's talk about the respect a player gets when he wants to sign a contract. And I think when it comes to the Wild and Kaprizov, $17 million is a lot of respect.
I think, to be honest, I think he's earned it. He signed an 8-year, $136 million contract extension that's going to keep him to Minnesota through 2033, 2034, with an AAV of 17 million. This even surpasses Leon Draisaitl's 14. According to this, according to the Athletics' Michael Russo, Kaprizov is going to be getting $1 million a season, along with a July 1 signing bonus of $18.1 million from 2026 through 2029, then 16 million in 2030, 14.2 million in 2031, and 12.7 million in 32 and 33. The extension also features a full no-move clause. This deal will kick in with the 2026-27 season. His current contract, which was a 5-year, $45 million extension, was signed in September 2021, so it's going to be expiring after the season is over. The 5th-round pick by the Wild in the 2015 draft.
5th-round pick.
What? 185 goals, 340-goal seasons, and 386 points. That is absolutely hefty contract. Apparently,
what are we saying here, Aaron? That every team passed on him 4 times.
It looks like that, yeah. Like somebody's getting fired in the scouting department for sure.
Every team passed on him 4 times. It wasn't bad enough they passed on him the first time. Yeah, there have been, he's in the same territory as the as the greatest quarterback, Brady, in the National Football League, that gets drafted very low and then proves somebody a genius or lucky.
It's very true.
The Senators clobbered Montreal 5-0, and during the game that they decided they'd clobber each other.
Yeah, they found themselves on the wrong end of a 5-0 score, losing to the Habs in Quebec City. They were kind of hoping to win over hockey fans, but at the end of the night, they were the ones getting jeered out of the building. It wasn't a great outing for Leva Merolainen. He played the entire game and gave up 5 goals on 23 shots. Brendan Gallagher for the Habs helped set up 3 of the 5 goals. On Sunday, Linus Ullmark stopped 14 shots in Ottawa's 2-0 win over the Devils. And on Tuesday, Jacob Dobush needed only 16 saves for Montreal to blank the Senators. Struble crossed Jenik in the face. Two fights broke out. Struble and Jack-Eye won their fights.
There was blood.
There was blood. There was a lot of blood. It was interesting, though. From some of the snippets of the game that I caught, it definitely felt like more of a home game for Montreal than for Ottawa.
Not surprising.
But, Sens are 2-2 in the preseason, and they're going to be in St. Louis for the next game on Thursday night. So we'll see if they can. Fix that.
You're old enough to remember. I think the two teams were channeling in the game in Quebec, the Montreal-Quebec battles.
Yeah, certainly the old Nordiques.
Oh boy,
Those were a lot of fun to watch.
absolutely. Let's talk about Brady Tkachuk.
So he's in his 8th season. It's his 5th as captain of the Ottawa Senators. If you didn't get enough of the wall-to-wall coverage of him during the Four Nations Cup, get ready for it. They're actually running a small Prime Video series called Face Off inside the NHL on him now. It's going to be launching October 3rd. They're halfway through the preseason now. He says, "Yeah, I'm pretty much an open book. So you're going to see a lot of the real me in this series." And I got to say, I don't hate him nearly as much as I used to. Either I'm mellowing or he's matured. I'm not sure which. I still find him annoying.
Tired of hating him. You're just tired of hating him.
You know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just Tkachuk fatigue.
It's not necessary anymore. Here's well, I'll start with the bad news, and you do the story on Taves. Taves got hurt. I think he's hurt, and we'll find out how badly. That they put him through some tests and stuff. But Taves very happy to be a Jet.
He is. He said, it's one of those things where going with this team felt right. He said at the end of the day, a decision wasn't really a decision at all. And it didn't even really have to make any sense. He says it really got to the point where I couldn't see myself wearing any other jersey. It wasn't something where you write down the pros and cons on a piece of paper. To me, it wasn't rational at all. It was more of an intuitive thing where it just feels right. And in the same way that Tavares signed with Toronto, realizing his dream. It looks like when Taves signed with Winnipeg, it's one of those things where it's one of those conclusions to a hockey journey that you feel just works. I'm hoping that he'll be able to regain his old form, and it's definitely something that Winnipeg could use.
Connecting with family and friends is another
100%.
thing that, Well, let's talk about the Flames.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorry about that. Rookie Gryden. Matvei Gryden actually looks like he's sticking with the Flames. They've reassigned 7 players to their AHL affiliate, the Wranglers, and put 4 more on waivers for the purpose of reassignment Tuesday afternoon. It gave us a bit of a look at what their opening night lineup might look like. Ryan Huska was saying you're kind of running out of time here, so you have to make sure your last couple of games are really good. First impressions are important, but I also think your last impression is pretty critical. After scoring twice in the last 2 exhibition games and adding a nice shootout winner on Monday against the Kraken, Gryden has a lot of people excited. He's probably going to have the chance to prove it with some playing time. Matt Coronado and Morgan Frost have been a lot of fun together over the past couple of games. They played with Gryden on Monday night, but at Tuesday's practice, they were paired with Johnny Huberdeau. That means that Nazem Kadri ended up centering a line with Joel Farabee and Yegor Sharangovich. So the Huberdeau Frost Coronado trio has the potential to be a lot of fun, with Frost and Coronado both benefiting from Huberdeau's high-end passing. Dustin Wolf was lights out in the win over the Kraken on Monday, and the plan is for the Flames to give him one more start against the Jets this coming Friday. That means that Ivan Prosvetov and Devin Cooley are going to split tonight's game with the Canucks. That gives both of those guys a chance to show what they should be doing and if they should be backing up Wolf this season.
Absolutely. How about those Oilers?
Yeah, not having a good time of it. When bugs start to go around, they really start to go around. Wouldn't think you'd be expecting to do it. But the Oilers are actually having to call up guys from the Bakersfield Condors as they're getting out on the road. They got a game against Seattle tonight and another against Vancouver on Friday. David Tomaszek and Noah Philp weren't on the ice Tuesday because they weren't feeling well. Knobloch wasn't sure who else might get hit. But no word as to who they're actually pulling up yet. So,
talk to me about the Knuckleheads.
So they're starting to winnow down the roster. I think they've got it down to I think it's 32 players right now. Yuri Patera played 7 games for the Abbotsford Canucks last season. Artur Silovs played 21 regular season games before backstopping Abbotsford to the league title. He has actually been sent down, as well as Joe Labate and Mackenzie McEachern and Jimmy Schultz. This is for the purpose of reassigning them to the AHL affiliate. The other guy that's being sent down is Nikita Tolopilo, who had a good preseason for them and a decent camp. But it looks like they're going to be giving them at least another year down in the minors. In a perfect world, Patera clears waivers to work in tandem with Tolopilo, who is now going to become the insurance policy if Thatcher Demko or Kevin Lankinen sustain an injury. Patera was signed to a 2-year tier-way contract on July 1st. He went on waivers for the purposes of being assigned to the AHL when Lankinen arrived there. So we'll have to see what happens here. I know the lines are slowly coming into shape. Hopefully we'll have something before the end of the weekend. Maybe, I don't know, hopefully we'll have something on Monday or Tuesday to give you about that.
Looking at the Maple Leafs, rumor is the Pacific Division has a team interested in one of the Leaf players. Hopefully it's one of the ones they want to send somewhere.
Well, it currently seems that Robertson is still on the trade block and that the San Jose Sharks are one of the teams that are currently kicking tires. Now, they say that there are multiple teams, but San Jose Sharks are the only one that are currently named. I can only assume that they're going to be looking for a little more talent out that way. Seattle was, I think, bruited about as a potential destination, as well as even Vancouver. We'll have to see what falls out of this, though.
What it's coming down to is they're more than happy. They're trying to be honest, they're not interested. They're not interested in even making trades for players. They'll be happy with a draft pick. And San Jose should be okay with draft picks and may be able to spare a second or a third rounder. And I think if they offered that, I think the Leafs would take it, just because it would help get rid of the logjam. They've got too many players in the lineup, and unfortunately, it's not who you want to get rid of that goes. Somebody has to be interested in who you don't want. Yeah. So sometimes you got 3 guys, and there's 2 guys you'd rather get rid of, but the third guy's the guy that people want, and you're stuck. It's not a decision you make lightly, but it's a decision you make numerically. It's a numbers thing, whether it's how many players they have under contract, whether it's how much they have in salary cap to deal with. These are the reasons why things matter. Now, on to really good news. We know that Stolarz was signed. We know that he wanted to be in Toronto, but you know what's really nice in this case? He wanted to be in Toronto and actually asked for a salary that made Toronto want to have him here.
Yeah. That 4-year, $15 million deal for him is actually starting to look really good. He led the NHL in save percentage amongst goalies who played at least 9 games with a .926. The problem that we have here is he only played 34 games last year, which means that the rest of the games were delegated to Woll and to Hildeby and to a rotating cast of goalies that would come up from the Marlies. It's one of those things where he stepped into a 1A situation for the first time last season and unfortunately had it cut short. But his $3.75 million salary per season is actually less than the current NHL average of approximately 3.8. So that's a good sign. Stolarz is actually going to be paid a lump sum signing bonus of $4.23 million at the beginning of the summer of 26-27. That's 28.2% of his entire contract extension paid out in one day. Yeah. Through interest and amortization, that's more value than a traditional deal that plays $3.75 million straight
that's what all the players are doing. We saw it with Kiprasov, right?
Yeah.
On the bonus money, right? And I thought the league was going to cut down on that, but I guess they have. There's still a lot of money that players can get up front.
I was going to say, it's not in effect yet, is basically what it boils down to. The rules that change this have effectively been skirted by these.
Absolutely. So Reimer's a Maple Leaf again. He was a good goaltender that got a lot of blame for what went wrong, and he's getting a chance to be that veteran that can help with the guys that don't have as much experience, like Stolarz, and of course Woll.
You know, he was a very good goaltender for the time that he was in Toronto. The unfortunate thing is he never had the opportunity to play with Matthews or Tavares or Marner or anybody else for that matter, because it was during the Carlisle and Nonis era, which was an absolute tire fire for the Maple Leafs.
The jersey to the ice era.
Oh God, it was just tough to watch. That was the 18-wheeler off a cliff era of Leafs history that
was
I'd rather not remember. But yeah, you know, he played 24 games last season. He started the 24-25 season with the Sabres, was waived before the regular season began, picked up by the Ducks, played 2 games for them before they waived him again, and then Buffalo reclaimed him. He had more wins and a higher save percentage than all of Buffalo's other goalies combined last year, which is a nightmare scenario for any team to be in if there's one guy on your goaltending staff like that. It just, you know, he's going to be wearing the number 47, which means I'll have to buy a new jersey. I got my original 34 Reimer way back in the day.
Yeah, but there's another guy that has that number right now.
Yeah,
I'll let him have it.
He decided not to.
Why am I not surprised? Yeah, so Reimer's changing. And 47, that's an interesting number.
Oh, for sure. I'm not 100% sure of what the significance of it is, but I do know that he did wear it last season. So it's one of those, maybe he's going to stick with it.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the Leafs and the chances that they have to be like, what are you seeing in the lineup? Are you seeing a team once again that can compete for first place? Is it a lineup that'll be lucky to be competing for a playoff spot? What do you see, Aaron?
Honestly, this is one of those things where I have to see a little bit more of them in action before I can genuinely make a decision about that sort of thing. But we are at least inching closer towards actually figuring out what their lines are going to look like. Domi, Nyes, Matthews seems like the no-brainer first line. You know, Domi does have good hands when he can get the puck, and that's
I don't want to
on
see
Matthew
Matthew on the right wing. It's not. He's not comfortable there, so I don't think he belongs there.
No, second line is going to be McMahon, Tavares, Nylander. At least that's the way it looks for now. That's an acceptable stopgap, I think, for the time being. Nicholas Roy, Matthias Michelli, and Dakota Joshua as the third line is interesting and also not a lot of fun. But what's even less fun is going to be their fourth line of Steven Lorentz, Scott Lawton, and Easton Cowan. That is going to be something fun to watch for sure. You know, it looks like they're going to be pairing up McKay with Tanev. That's reliable. Morgan Riley with Brandon Carlo is consistent. We've seen that before, and it's dependable. OEL and Simone Benoit are the rumored third pair. But unfortunately, Simone Benoit is potentially injured. He's being listed as a game time decision for tomorrow's game against Detroit. He's listed as day to day, and of course, goalies are going to be Stolars and Hildeby for the time being. Joseph Woll is currently listed as obviously out for his indefinite personal leave of absence.
And of course, their new goaltender, James Reimer, is emergency.
Yeah, he is their third.
Absolutely. So for me, the Leafs are going to be and are a less offensively talented team, but they're also a more committed defensive team. Now I'm basing that on the players on the team. I believe also that if the Leafs can play the kind of game they need to play, and if they can, I think a good thing is keeping Matthews away from the penalty killing. I think that's a good thing. Stick him to the power play and the 5-on-5. If you're not getting enough ice time because of penalties, you can always, stick them in the second line or the third line and throw them out there. I think that's what they'll try this year. I think what they'll do is instead of getting them extra ice time killing penalties, They might do it inserting him in the other lines. And because they don't have as much with Marner missing, but they may not have as much threat offensively. So he'll be I think he'll be more effective with the other lines as well. But really, it's like I told you from the beginning, Aaron, when we first started talking about it, he's going to have to establish that he is a playmaker. And by playmaker, I don't mean just strictly a passer. I mean a guy who takes the puck and beats players one-on-one, a player who can use his ability, talent, and size to dominate and be able to control the game as opposed to just being a trigger man. And if that happens, the Leaf team won't be fighting for first. They will be in a struggle for a playoff spot, not because they've dropped so much, but that Montreal and Ottawa have become so much better. And they have really become so much better. And you could tell the passion between the way Ottawa and Montreal played. So that passion is what the Leafs are up against. Meanwhile, they've been trying to foster that same kind of passion. So I think the Atlantic Division has turned into 4 or 5 Florida teams overnight.
It's funny how success breeds imitation. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Last comment to you, Aaron.
At the end of the day, it is only a game. For everybody who likes to get upset about it and uptight, just remember that. Remember to take some time to breathe. Touch grass while you still can. It's an 82-game season. You're going to be okay.
But the Leafs have to be in it.
They do.
Thanks for doing this, Aaron. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. You can check out what we do on Candid Frank Stanishi 1030 on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.